BookTube, and today I will be doing my review of The Raven Boys by Maggie Stiefvater. So this is the first book in the Raven cycle. And I'm just going to just quickly run through the main characters and then my non-spoilery review section, and then I will put up a thing that says spoiler alert on the bottom of my screen here, and the rest of it will be spoiler version if you've read the book or if you like spoilers. To start with, we have main characters. We have Blue Sargent. She's the only daughter of Marua and lives with her extended family at 300 Fox Way. They are a extended family of clairvoyant. Colin wants in on today's review. She is the only non-clairvoyant in her entire extended family. She sort of acts as a catalyst for the rest of the clairvoyancy. Everything is clearer when she is around. She lives in a town where there is a large private school for boys called the Aglynaby School. This is one of those things where everyone knows you do not involve yourself with an Aglynaby boy. From birth, there was a prediction about Blue's life, and that would be that she would kill her first love with a kiss. So she has grown up knowing this and thinking to herself that she was just never going to kiss anyone. We open the book with her at a abandoned cemetery on what they call the Corpse Road with her Aunt Neve, who has recently returned to the conglomerate style family home on the 24th of April, St. Mark's Eve. Now they do this because on those days they will see everyone in the area who will die in the next 12 months. They do it as a service to the people of the town because they are a clairvoyant service. Blue goes along because she increases the power of whoever's there, and they're able to get a better picture of whoever it is that's passing along the Corpse Road at that time. Now Blue, for the first time ever, sees a ghost. As she's so shocked, goes over and tries to communicate with this ghost. Not sure if it would actually be considered a ghost because they haven't died yet, but spirit, let's say. Next we move on to Richard Campbell Gainsey III, who just goes by Gainsey. He is a Aglynaby boy, and he is utterly and completely obsessed with the medieval Welsh king Owen Glendower and the ley lines that surround the mystery of his disappearance from history. Now, he's moved all over the world trying to research this and has moved into this town so he can continue that research. One of his friends is Adam Parrish, and he goes to the private boys' school on a half scholarship. He works several jobs in order to be able to afford the rest of the tuition fees, and he lives in a trailer park in a not particularly nice situation. He particularly likes Blue, which we end up finding out, or thinks she's quite cute at the very least. Another of Gainsey's friends is Rowan Lynch. He's the son of Niall Lynch, who was, and I quote, dragged from his charcoal grey BMW and beaten to death with a tire iron. Rowan, it's not much of a spoiler, it's very early on. Rowan is not coping with this well. There are bits of alcohol abuse, possibly other substances. He is also, they're believed to be self-harming himself. He also lives with Gainsey. Now, these two plus Noah, who is the third resident, he is the third resident of the old manufacturing warehouse that Gainsey has purchased to live in instead of living on site at the private boys' school, and that is on the old Monmouth manufacturing plant. The last of the three boys to live in the manufacturing warehouse, or above it as it is, Noah. He is a very nice, quiet boy, but he always looks a bit smudgy or dirty, but Blue really likes him. Blue thinks he's a lovely person as well, so that's probably a good gauge. Rowan, on the other hand, she's uncomfortable around and doesn't really feel like she can trust him. So in the opening chapters of this, we have the meeting between the two. If you don't want to hear about that, sorry, Blue and the boys, if you don't want to hear about that, mute now. So they meet at one of Blue's work places, which is Nino's restaurant, and Gaintsy makes an absolute fool of himself by asking Blue out for his friend Adam, who thinks she's quite cute. Gaintsy basically puts his foot in it and acts like a rich toff who can buy his friends a date. Blue doesn't take that very well. Really did enjoy the development of these characters, the story that they're going through, and none of the big things have been tied off, which is really quite nice. None of it all seems to be moving the plot forward. It all seems to be relevant. I quite liked the hollowed out tree in the forest where they stepped into it and they saw a snippet of the future, which out of context seems to be very difficult for them to interpret. It kind of reminded me of the boab trees that we have in Australia, where I know that they were used as prison trees in the early settlement days and by the local indigenous tribes that had them growing in their territory. They are scary, scary, scary places, much like this hollowed out tree. They are not a nice little trip through the fairy garden. There are still to this day many of the Aboriginal tribes of Australia will refuse to go anywhere near the boabs, and I would refuse to go anywhere near this hollowed out tree. I really quite liked that element and the spirituality that's within this book. I think I was also drawn to the character of Blue because I grew up with my mum, who is a spiritual person without being religious, and a bit liked the idea of the meditation and the symbolism of magic. I think I related to Blue in that aspect as well. However, I have males in my household. So if you don't want to know much more about what's happened, I would suggest you cut it off now. So we get to the plot development. Coming up now. If you don't want to know what's going on, off you go. Gaintsy has a journal that he collects all the information about his ley lines and how they relate to the King Owen Glendover. He leaves it at Nino's, as you do. Blue picks it up, takes it with her. As it turns out, Gaintsy has decided that he needs to go and consult the resident clairvoyance of the town, which is Blue's mother and other family members. They get there, Blue's mother doesn't see eye to eye with these people to begin with and refuses to help them with any questions about the corpse road and the ley lines, one and the same. Blue races out after them because she really kind of decided that Adam doesn't seem like your average private school boy, and she's kind of thinking he might be quite nice to date casually, but she's also got this "you will kill your true love" hanging over her head. They sort of start teaming up, and it just so happens that Gaintsy's sister flies a helicopter. So she is invited by Adam to go flying in a helicopter to go and have a look at some of the structures in the forest surrounding their town to see if they can see anything from the air that they can't see from the ground. This is a common sort of thing. You hear about this in Mexico or South America, where there are giant animals. What are you doing? Carved into the landscape that can only be seen from the air. They discover a incredibly mysterious forest where the time sort of has time, there's time shift, there's changes in the landscape through which things like that Gaintsy thinks should be there and then decides that they should be different, and the colours of things change. So we're obviously in some sort of Fey style area within this forest. And they're on a ley line as well. Moving along, we're introduced to the character of their Latin teacher, who is very interested in the journal and Gacy's research into the ley lines and the hidden Welsh king Owen Glendower. Things happen, the journal gets passed between people, and massive spoiler, they find a body in the forest. Along with this, we've got Rowan's struggle, little dapples of Rowan's struggle happening in the dealing with the death of the very violent death of his father. Gacy wakes up one night to find he's not there, goes and finds him in his church that he regularly attends on a Sunday, and he's got a baby bird that turns out to be a raven, and he names her Chainsaw. The conclusion of this book I will discuss in my next review, just so that I'm not completely spoiling it for anyone. But yeah, I really enjoyed this book. I think I gave it a 4 out of 5. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. It is something just a little bit different. And coming up very soon will be my review of the second book in the trilogy, in the quartet, which is The Dream Thieves. So thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time. Happy reading!